Good afternoon, Scott Baker.
Mikey Ames, how are you? Time for another edition of Lead Better Live. What is it, the 27th of August, 2025? And we're talking about entitlement. Today's field note has the title, How Leaders Unwittingly Create Entitlement. Now, maybe it's unwittingly. They might also suspect it.
They might suspect it, but maybe they haven't thought through how it was created in the first place. And it comes from a good spot, right? Because leaders do care about making people happy, right? Making people happy with them, right? The happiness of others sometimes you have such a strong need for it, though. It makes you a little bit, troubled by the results, and you don't realize that, oh, you're the one who caused it. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of people might complain about entitlement, thinking, oh, my team is so, right. And at the end of the day, it's probably you who's caused it, right?
I suppose, we've gone through some weird times corporately, right? In the whole couple decades of Silicon Valley type startups, and you come work for us and you get look at the kind of lunches we have, and there's ping pong tables everywhere, and everybody's going to have craft brew after work, and all of this. You'll be like, well, my small insurance agency is nothing like that, or whatever the circumstance that you're in.
No,
So you start
9 years ago, I took my dad to the Facebook headquarters. They had
Yes,
purchased
right.
the
Yeah.
Facebook headquarters from Oracle, I think the original
Yeah.
place. And that place seriously looked like
Oh, yeah.
a Disney World.
Yeah.
Their new building that they opened up we toured both campuses, and the
Yeah.
new building was like, tents on the roof and full garden.
The walk on the roof was was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, you saw it. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And so my dad, who was, 40 years as a CFO in the banking
bank.
industry, looked around and was like, how does anybody get any work done? And I
Right,
think
exactly.
The question that he asked was, how do you measure productivity when you've got all that? Now, mind you, this was back in 2014 or so. And our tour guide was like, oh, we don't measure productivity. If we did that, people would end up leaving too quickly. So
They would go to other places where they would also be non-productive.
Right.
And look, and there have been plenty of people in that Silicon Valley culture who then wrote sort of their own tell-alls about how they worked and made $250,000 a year and did that for many years and really didn't do anything.
Right.
And kind of gave you a chronology of that. And I joked about the musical that when my oldest daughter was in, and How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. And one of the early scenes is somebody saying, well, it's from the book that the musical was made on, and it's the satirical advice: work for an organization large enough where no one knows what anybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Step
and you
one.
can just make your way through in however way you want. So this question, though, of entitlement and how do you reward and benefit people and make them feel like they're a part of the right organization? And when is that an encouragement? When is that an incentive? And when is it a discouragement? Or when does it create a lack of incentive? And that can be a pretty tricky thing.
Yeah. And to be fair, I don't think Facebook, even though that was, the target of our example a second ago, I don't think they run things quite that way any longer. And so the ability to be able to recognize that Facebook was responding to the industry, and they were trying to attract the best talent, right? And that need to attract the biggest and brightest, and it wasn't just about salary; it was also about like the accommodations and the work environment, what they would call the work culture. That was the thing that they were responding to, the way that the entire industry was going. So how can you possibly ignore that? If your entire industry is doing that, you're going to get left out of the best and brightest talent if you don't also kind of participate in the same way. So, 10 years later, it's shown that probably it did bite them in the rear end, and probably most of the industry has kind of gone the other direction as a result of it as well.
Well, we had that sort of corporate culture, shift that was happening. We also had then work from home during the COVID period, and people got used to a certain kind of a cadence.
Yeah.
I was just talking with a friend of my wife's who lives in another city, and her husband works in a government position, and the shock for the people there of needing to be back in the office and really causing like these life decisions for, I think in this case, I don't know, maybe mid 50s, of saying, I'm 8 years from retirement and I've got to go into the office every day. Maybe I should just leave.
Yes.
Because they got so used to just not doing it. And so,
but the key question in the field note is that's not his fault, right? The organization did that to him, right?
Yes, exactly. So you've created, whether you've given a benefit of any kind, right? So, and then pretty soon, that's why we even talk about the nature of expected and unexpected rewards. Or anything that becomes, here's the way we do it, or this is the reward you always get, then that becomes a very different thing than when a leader comes in and says, look, I know what you guys put into this, and and I'm going to do something special for you. Right. And it really is special.
Yeah. So it brings up a funny thing that usually there's the meme around pizza parties at work where you kind of like, oh, you're going to pay me overtime in pepperoni, right? And and how anytime you get a pizza party like that, however, the notion of the pizza party, once you throw one, right, to say, thanks for working long hours. Here, let me just show you my small gratitude by giving you guys, an order of Domino's on me as you're still working late hours. If you do it a second time, maybe even just doing it the first time, means that there's something that's calculated in everybody's mind that this is what we need to do in order to get free pizza. And it's not really about the free pizza. It's about the second or third or fourth time you do it in a row. Then
where's the pizza if you don't do it? Yeah,
exactly.
Like,
And people they're not addicted.
Bastards have taken away the pizza benefit.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to be careful when setting those kinds of things up, right? Who is the one who actually set those expectations? And if I'm the one who's feeling entitled to my pepperoni, right? Is that my fault, or is it your fault because you paid for the pepperoni a couple times in a row? So how do you set it up in such a way where it's like just a one-time thing, just wanted to say thanks real quick and extend my appreciation. Right. Don't expect this every time, right? Being able to clearly communicate, don't get entitled by this, right?
Right. Yeah.
Without using those words, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And then what you can really do is create a real problem when if Scott's team has worked really hard and the boss comes in and says, all right, what I've done is I've created this thing because I know Scott really likes chicken breast and sweet potatoes and steamed broccoli. And I'm like, yeah. And everybody else is like, what?
Yeah.
Where's the pizza?
Right.
We just want, and if it's all pizza, Scott's like, I only eat pizza on Saturday nights.
Yes.
So I can't have anything.
Very funny SNL skit from Please Don't Destroy, where John Hamm, they have to stay late to figure out some girl who's missing. And John Hamm is more excited about the pizza than anybody else.
Right.
Him continuing to be excited about the pizza.
That was such a good example of that. Yeah.
Right. And so, and eventually it infected the rest of the room. Like all the detectives at first were like, come on, have a heart. Right. And then
we're trying to find this missing girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the final line was that the sergeant had ordered mostly Hawaiian pizza. And they're like,
right. Oh man.
Read the room. Who wanted? Yeah. So yeah, very funny, but it's exactly what happens. You know, most of the time it's aimed at this goal of wanting to increase morale, increase productivity, right? Which are great things for a leader to do, but doing it, and we're not just picking on pizza, but doing it with any kind of reward system has the same kind of pitfalls that the pizza example has, right? Choose just about, and so you're saying, well, let me just make it a better reward system. Nope. The entitlement is going to be there if you make that like this standard thing that you've done even twice. You've done it twice. You're trapping yourself in a way that is hard to recover from.
Well, this is not a new problem, right? So, and there's a couple of things that go beyond just this thing that you would see, which is people come to expect it. But there is this concept. I recall that there's probably some social science name around it, but it's the idea that if I'm giving a certain kind of external reward for certain kind of performance, I'm actually taking away from you the satisfaction of work done for its own intrinsic reason.
Right.
And what you ideally would want is none of us really mind if we're given a special bonus or there's some incentive target or something we know about that. But hopefully you have sort of a pride of workmanship in the thing that you're doing. You're a craftsman of whatever the thing is that you're producing in the world. And so if as a leader you've tried to be like, well, I'm going to lose everybody to these competitors, so I'm going to layer in this and that and the other, pretty soon people are just doing stuff for the rewards. And so you've actually diminished something that over the long term, I'm sure is really the quality of work and the quality of satisfaction in the job would have to go down.
Yeah. No, I felt it even in exploring a few local social organizations when I was first moving into town, trying to understand what is it to join this one versus that one. And it was always interesting to me that there was a movement among some of these churches to, give away gift certificates, give away gift cards, give away, that one was doing a gas buy down program. Everyone was giving out books to, the first time guests who were coming through the doors. And it was odd to me that, is this the type of person that you're wanting to attract to your organization? Is the type of people who are impressed by gifts and trinkets, right? When what you really want is to attract the kind of people who are going to be other-oriented, who are going to be serving you in your endeavors, right? Who, if you're serving the community, you want people to join hands with you in serving the community. So you want to look for servant-minded people, right? So why is it that you're giving away freebies to a group of people when those are the type of people who are going to be most attracted? Is coupon clippers, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
That might be a little bit of an overgeneralization, but it did feel like the incentives were in the wrong spot for some of the people who were doing this. And that's exactly what we're saying about your organization. From a hiring standpoint, as opposed to like recruiting somebody into your church organization, from hiring, how do you best find those people who are intrinsically motivated to do a good job instead of extrinsically motivated just by, we believe in fair compensation. Like, we're not saying not to compensate people well, but how do you identify that in the hiring process? It's an important question to think through.
Well, that is certainly is in the identification of the talent. But you bring up a really good point, which is, are you then also, if there is a value in having even, let's say, collaboration, like you were talking about, connecting or serving other people or whatever the other directedness is. Some organizations, I think Google had a program on this, where where they were trying to actually get away from this sort of, benefits culture that without connecting it to work, they were starting to tie it into productivity and collaboration. And so can we do things where we're incentivizing you around something that really is a good corporate value? And does that work? And there is some evidence that that it does, and I think that's the overall thing. Because back through history, this is not a new problem necessarily. I think in the Doris Kearns Goodwin book on Lincoln, he kind of talks about making sure that there's some connection to what you're praising around the thing that was actually done. The idea of empty praise and empty benefits has a long lineage of criticism. And so when you're actually creating either incentive or unexpected reward, that it goes to things that are then actually valuable within the organization. Even in our organization, I don't think I'm telling anything out of school. Or maybe we'll find out later. We got to edit it. There's all kinds of different things that people do within our 100 people, and there's different practices. But there are incentives for how you pass work to other people. Right. So that, because it's not just like because many of our people, they're full time. We actually have the largest full-time team of high-level executive advisors of probably any company in the world that we know of. And again, that you can have that in a company of under 100. It's not like you have 1,000 extraordinarily good executive coaches. The ability to find extraordinarily world-class either strategic advisors or leadership advisors is a really tricky thing. You're looking for A-plus players. So then you're out there developing, and they have their own client list, but yet we incentivize the sharing of what the relationships that you're building with other people in the organization.
Yeah.
And so then there are small targets around that. And I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. Sometimes it shows up in the way that you structure incentives. Sometimes it
Hmm.
shows up in just the way that you structure work projects as well. Kiva is known for micro
Hmm.
lending, and early on they recognized that um, in some of the countries that they participated in, if there
Hmm.
wasn't a peer nature to the group,
Right.
so if a single person was able to default on their loan, then there wasn't an issue with that. But if you organize people in such a way where their group, even though they were applying for an individual loan, if one person defaulted in the group, the entire group defaulted.
Yeah. Right.
That incentive of like not wanting to disappoint the fact that I'm in a cohort of people
Yep.
had a powerful effect on the way that they work. And again, it applied to the intrinsic value of me not wanting to destroy the tribe, right? The group was more important than the individual at that point. And it was proven by the structure, not just the incentive or the disincentive.
Well, look, in the end, the field note is pretty blunt that if you have an entitlement culture, the leader probably caused that. And
Yep.
maybe a sequence of leaders, or that's just how it got going. And it could have been from right motivation, because if you look at it and you say, well, we care about our people, or we want to,
Yep.
or selfishly, we don't want them leaving to go to the competition. Too much of this caring is going to backfire. And pretty soon you've got unmerited rewards that have led to this entitlement culture.
Yep.
You've taught them this, right? How it goes. And then it kind of dominoes through the organization. So how do you get out of it? The cure, that gets tougher then on how you say, all right, well, we're going to tie the rewards to results now. Well, first of all, there's going to be a lot of griping and grumbling for a good long while.
Yep.
But those then become, you gotta kind of stick to this thing to be, and ultimately people will see the value. Like
Right.
they probably hate that the people that they know that aren't pulling their weight. And
Right.
you know that, by the way, if everybody's getting this benefit and 80% of the people on the team aren't pulling their own weight, it just drags down the productivity of the top people too.
Yeah.
Because they're like, why am I working so hard?
Yeah.
So when you can say, no, we're going to tie rewards to results, and we're going to set clear standards and raise the bar, well, then you're starting to get back on the right track.
Yeah. And it doesn't take a business consultant who is a genius to point that out. Pretty much everybody knows that that's the solution. It's just hard. It's hard. And it'll be a big transition, but that's about it. That's what you have to do.
All right. A couple minutes over, but thank you, Mikey. That was interesting.
Thank you.
No pizza for us today.
No, none for you. I was
Yeah,
thinking
we're not-
about it. You talked me
Yeah.
out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And for everybody that did decide to watch live, kind of when we do this 3:00 most weekday, well, we're live pretty much all the time when we do it. Occasionally we have to record one ahead of time. We were going to offer pizza for everybody, but we couldn't figure out exactly how to get it
Yeah.
to you,
Right.
without looking really creepy.
Yeah. Maybe we'll put the coupon code in chat
Right.
next time around.
All right.
right.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye now.